T.A. Bruno really knows how to bring the heat in the last 30% of his books. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's review is On the Winds of Quasars by T.A. Bruno. This is book 2 in the Song of Kamaria, an epic space opera sci-fi situation that T.A. Bruno has brought into the world. Now, I will say this review will contain spoilers for book 1, which is In the Orbit of Sirens. If you haven't read that book, then tap out of this review, and I will be spoiler-free for On the Winds of Quasars, but not for the first book in the series. On the Wind of Quasars takes place 26 years after the end of In the Orbit of Sirens. We've got Denton and Eliana's kids. They're all grown up, and there is no more noise of the siren Nim, and the world has sort of gotten on in relative peace. The reader starts by following Cade, which is the son of our main character in book 1, and Zephyr. These are two young adults coming back to Kamaria for vacation before Cade starts his new promotion up in the sky. Denton and Eliana are very grateful to have Cade back with them once more, and we get a good feel of this unified family dynamic that they have. It's also at this point that we are introduced to Cade's deaf sister, Nella, who has grown up as well. So now they're both adult children, essentially, and Nella is working as a botanist. During his time on vacation, Cade and Zephyr go out on the town, looking to test the boundaries of this new budding relationship to see if they could potentially be anything more. But during their evening, they get on the wrong side of a cranky Uknai, which is a bird-like creature we were introduced to in book 1. And the evening ends with Cade being beaten while trying to escape a delicate situation with Zephyr, is probably the nicest way to put that. Turning to his sister Nella, he seeks shelter and healing, but before too long, they are both left in the dark and kidnapped by an unknown entity. It seems that life on Kamaria is not as peaceful as they once thought over the last 20 years or so. It's now up to Denton and Eliana to save their children from the threat of the outside world, threats that could change their lives forever. At the heart of the story, we have this kidnapping. So we've got the children of the adults from book 1, who also had this sort of coming of age, coming of relationship in book 1, and then in book 2 we now have their adult children who have been kidnapped, and we're sort of flicking between the two. We're flicking between the parents who are trying to find them and also the kids who have been kidnapped. On the Winds of Quasars felt very similar to book 1 in terms of its execution. The author does a good job of allowing the reader to sit with the characters and the situations before turning up the heat in that last 30% in the book. Now, this can make for a slow burn. It did for me personally in both book 1 and book 2. I enjoyed the slow burn more in book 1 because we were getting to learn of the new world, we were getting to learn of these new characters, whereas in book 2, those have already been established. During the first third of the story of On the Winds of Quasars, we follow Denton, Eliana, and their kids as they sort of just go through life on the planet. So we're given that time to see the family dynamic come into play. We're given that time to see how the planet has sort of changed over the last 26 years and just how life is on the particular planet. We are also reintroduced to some characters from book 1, so grandparents, and that does give a very nostalgic feeling to the book. If you're a character-driven reader who likes the slice of life, this aspect of the book is absolutely going to work for you. What this has allowed, in my opinion, is for a fairly graceful reintroduction into the world without needing something like a story thus far at the beginning of the book. Although it may have felt slow, I did appreciate that the story so far was incorporated into the new elements that were installed in the second installment. Moving on to the elements of the story, the darker alien elements of this book were really fun to watch unfold. I can't go into too much detail here for fear of spoilers for book 2, and we're going to keep this one spoiler free for people who haven't read it yet, but I liked that the situation that our characters were in got more and more sinister as this story unfolded, and it was a real slow burn for that to become almost menacing as you were reading this particular storyline. It started as a relatively innocent interaction between two people and turned into something much more, which was really cool once those pennies started to drop in my head as I was reading. This allowed the author to incorporate some more space exploration and also some psychological horror elements as the book progressed, which I just thought was wonderful, and I had a great time with it. What that says about me as a person, you can decide. Now, I will admit I felt pretty lukewarm on the book. I liked it, but I didn't love it for about 60 to 70% of the story. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't adding anything new to the world or the plot, in my opinion. We followed a similar formula that we had in book 1. We got to see the lives of the children who are now adults, the catalyst event happened, and then it's a fight against time. And then the last 30% of this book hit. And far out, T.A. Bruno got me in the last 30% of In the Orbit of Sirens, and happened again, got me in the last 30% of On the Winds of Quasars. One thing I can say with full confidence is T.A. Bruno can absolutely turn up the heat when he has to. Once I turned the page into the last third of the book, I couldn't put it down. In fact, I didn't put it down. I basically switched from ebook to audiobook to ebook to immersion reading to make sure that I completed it in that sitting, because I wasn't going to end my day without finishing that particular book. It was action-packed. The foreshadowing of the first 70% had clicked into place, and the stakes just went sky high. I was so anxious about what was going to happen to our crew, and I remember that feeling of anxiety from book 1 as well. I had no idea he was going to make it out of this one alive, and was on the edge of my seat. And once again, that last sentence of this book had me cursing the author's name. Luckily, the third book is out, and I can jump in whenever I have time so I can finish off this story. Overall, I had quite a good time with the second installment, even though that first 70% felt a little bit slow for me personally. That last 30%, 100% sold me. This story, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to end. I've heard that book 3 gets a little bit wild for the conclusion, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm all in for book 3. That was a very quick review of On the Winds of Quasars, book 2 in the Song of Kamaria. Have you read this one? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the story, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will. I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.